ARC offers downward departure alternatives and supports compliance and recovery. Their JRP goals for this program are to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. Target population is medium and high risk, and staff did not have any clarifications for this program. Their third program is Community in Action Reentry Services. This is a new program as well. This program provides employment-focused case management and barrier reduction for individuals on supervision. Navigators offer resume help, job coaching, and cognitive-based support informed by validated assessments. Its goal is to reduce recidivism, and target population is low to high risk individuals. And staff's only recommended feedback is to clarify if the program mixes risk levels. And their fourth program is Transitional Housing Services. This is an existing program, and it provides housing placements for individuals involved in SMART, ARC, or short-term transitional leave. It prioritizes high-risk populations and includes providers with wraparound services and cultural responsiveness. The JRP goals that it addresses are to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. Its target population is low to high-risk individuals. And again, the only staff recommended feedback is to clarify if the program mixes risk levels at any point. And Yamhill's last program is the pretrial electronic monitoring. This is an existing program. This diverts eligible individuals from pretrial detentions using validated assessments. Participants receive GPS and alcohol monitoring, UA testing, and court check-ins. Services are offered in Spanish, and equity tracking is embedded. So this is an existing program. The goals that this program meets are to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. Its target population is low to high risk individuals. And again, it's to clarify, staff recommended feedback is to clarify if the program mixes risk levels. So Catherine, are you ready to go back? Okay, so I will ask for feedback after Catherine presents. So let me just stop sharing for a moment.
All right. Thank you. So what we see really for Yamhill County is that number of prison intakes really remains the same. Probation intakes appear to remain the same over that time period, and we see a decrease in local jail intakes.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, so standard question. End of program narratives. Would the GRC like to adopt staff recommended feedback or change any of that or add any additional feedback? All right, well, that ends the yellow category and begins our last category, the orange category, which is the above baseline and increasing usage. We have 4 counties in this category, and we'll be covering slightly more detail because of that increasing usage. So we'll go over again the racial disparity tool, prison usage data, and in addition now data by crime type, and then we'll get into the application review. So with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine to jump into Benton County.
All right, yeah, thank you. So a lot of these are going to look the same, and then I've also added a couple in here to help with breaking down by crime type and also a comparison to sort of geographic peers. And so what we're looking at for Benton County is they have seen an increase, and they went from below their baseline in February 2024 to above their baseline in February of 2025. So it looks like for Benton County, this is sort of two factors again, right? An increase in their overall intakes, and then also a slight increase, at least on the upper end of their range, and with a few maybe outlying cases, a slight increase in their lengths of stay as well. So this is going to look pretty familiar, I hope, to most folks, although we've changed the format of the plots on the right-hand side a little bit. And so we've broken down sentence lengths and intakes by crime type. And so this light blue is going to be property crimes, dark blue is going to be drug crimes, and then the green is going to be driving and DUI crimes. So on the left-hand side, this plot is really looking at, of all the prison usage, how much is what percent of their prison use over that time period is attributable to either first sentence property crimes or first sentence drug crimes or driving DUI. So if you add up all those percents, it's 100% of their prison use, their prison months used in the time period indicated. On the right-hand side, what we have are essentially a different version of the two plots we just looked at in the last slide. So on the top, we're looking at average sentence lengths over time, compared to, in the dotted line on that top plot, is the statewide average sentence length. So that sort of helps us gauge where those sentence lengths are in comparison to the rest of the state. And then on the bottom right-hand side, we're looking at prison admissions by crime type over the time period. Because these are rolling, we do see some missingness here if there are long periods of time where there are no intakes for, say, driving DUI crimes or in Benton County drug crimes. Then we wouldn't see the data there. But what we do see is that there's, some bumpiness and a slight increase in property crime intakes, it looks like, for Benton County, and then some increase in their maybe driving and DUI crimes, but their average sentence lengths do appear to be in line with or well below the statewide sentence length averages. All right, so here we see just a slight increase in prison intakes, a slight decrease in local jail and probation intakes, it appears. All right, and then we get into sort of some geographic peer comparison. And so if we take a look at these plots, we're going to see these for the next 4 as well. The black line is always going to be our statewide rate. So it's a little more stable because there's a lot more data included in that point. And this is per capita prison admissions. So for each county, it's the number of JRP prison admissions per 100 individuals population in that county. And the red line will be our selected county, or in this case, Benton County. And then those blue and green lines are sort of geographic peers, every county that touches Benton, is sort of the way I decided to display that this time. It looks like Benton County is very often below or always almost below statewide and their peers as far as per capita prison admissions go. All right, and the probation equity plot doesn't show any sustained disparity.
Thanks, Catherine. So Benton County has 3 programs. Their first is the community-based programming. This is an existing program, and this program delivers evidence-based cognitive behavioral interventions such as thinking for a change and to justice-involved individuals. Trained POs facilitate sessions matched to participants based on their risk level and stage of change. The program's goal is to reduce prison use. Its target population is medium and high risk individuals. Staff did not have any recommended feedback for this program. The second program is transitional housing. This is also an existing program, and this program provides short-term housing subsidies to high and medium risk individuals reentering the community from incarceration. It is tied to supervision, motivational engagement, and treatment placement using validated assessments. The goal for this program is to reduce prison use. Its target population is medium and high risk individuals, and staff did not have any feedback for this program. And Benton County's last program is their pretrial program, also an existing program. And this program uses GPS and alcohol monitoring, court compliance oversight, and proximity alert technology to reduce failure to appear and violations. The target population is low to high risk individuals. Its goals are to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. And staff recommended feedback is to provide more details around how the program provides culturally responsive services. So, for example, staff training, cultural tailoring, or any collaboration with culturally specific providers. So, again, just looking for more of that detail. Again, to use Lisa's words again, show the good work that you're doing and just describe it a little bit more. And then lastly, to clarify if the program mixes risk levels. So that being the last program for Benton County, would the GRC like to adopt or change staff recommended feedback or add any further feedback? All right, we'll move into the next county, Douglas County.
All right. So for Douglas County, we see that they started out quite a bit below their baseline, but saw a pretty steep increase in their prison use over the past year from February to February and ended above their baseline. When we break that down, it's pretty clear that this is a case of an increase in intakes over this time. There's a little bit of an increase in their median sentence length as well, but probably mostly attributable to an intake in admissions. So if we look at this, mostly on the right-hand side, I think is what's really helpful here. We do see that their average sentence lengths increased slightly for property crimes and driving and DUI crimes. It looks like ultimately their drug crime sentence length remained the same from February to February, but their drug crime sentence length is much higher than the statewide sentence length, and their property crime sentence length is a bit higher than the statewide sentence length as well. On admissions, we do see that spike that we expected to see in intakes based on their overall spike in intakes, and it appears that that's mostly attributable to property crime intakes increasing. So we break it down by custody type. We do see that increase in state prison intakes. Their local jail intakes appear to have remained the same, if not decreased slightly, and their probation intakes appear to have remained relatively the same as well. So comparing Douglas to their geographic peers, again, statewide is Black, the red is Douglas, and then the others are their peers. Douglas appears to be right around the middle of the pack of their peers until the beginning of 2024, where their per capita prison use or their per capita prison admissions does dip below the statewide and below all their peers before popping right back up towards February 2025. And if we take a look at their probation equity plot, we do not see any real sustained positive values for groups in Douglas County.
All right, moving into Douglas County's programs. They have two programs. Their first is their residential substance abuse treatment program. This is an existing program. It is a 120-day in custody treatment court alternative focused on high need, high risk individuals. It integrates MRT, CBT, and validated assessments, as well as trauma informed practices with individualized case planning. After release, participants enter Hope Drug Court for supervision and wraparound services. The goals that it addresses are to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. Its target population is medium and high risk individuals, and staff do not have any clarifications for this program. Their last program is transitional housing. This is also an existing program. And this program connects RSAT graduates to sober living environments such as Oxford houses. This program's goal is to reduce recidivism and reduce prison use. Its target population is medium and high risk individuals, and staff do not have any clarifications for this program. However, overall recommendations around prison use is staff are asking that Douglas County explain the recent increase in sentence lengths for drug crimes. So that being the last program, would the GRC like to adopt or change staff recommended feedback or add any additional feedback? All right, we'll go ahead and move into Josephine County.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so Josephine County started out just barely below their baseline and saw what I would call, maybe slight to medium increase over the past year and did end up above their baseline. So it really looks like for Josephine, there's an increase in intakes, some from February 24 to February 2025, but it really looks like there's sort of this increase in their lengths of stay as well, and that's really playing a part in their overall prison use increase. Not only is the median up, but there's just a sort of a heavier tail on the high end of their lengths of stay. So if we break that out, that starts to look like an increase in their sentence lengths for driving into UII crimes, where they increased up from below the statewide rate to above the statewide rate there, a slight increase in their property crime sentence lengths, and then maybe not since February exactly, but since slightly before February over the last year and a couple of months, really an increase too in their drug crime sentence lengths. We also see an increase in their property crime intakes and an increase in their drug crime intakes over that time period. So we look at this by custody type. We see an increase in their prison intakes at the same time as a decrease in their probation intakes and a decrease in their local jail intakes. So if we compare Josephine to their peers and the state, they appear to be right in the middle to almost the top end of their peer group, as well as above the statewide prison admissions per capita rate. Their probation equity tool shows that we don't see any disparities for any particular group over time in Josephine County.
Thanks, Catherine. So Josephine County has 5 programs. Their first is secure treatment beds. This is an existing program. And this program provides jail-based CBT and CBI for high-risk individuals with substance use and mental health needs. The goal that it's working towards is to reduce recidivism. Its target population is high-risk individuals, and staff do not have any recommended feedback for this program. Their second program is transitional housing and reentry coordination. This is also an existing program, and this program funds transitional housing through Welcome Home Oregon and supports reentry through wraparound coordination with employment and behavioral health services. The goal of this program is to reduce recidivism. Its target population is high-risk individuals, and staff recommend feedback is to clarify whether Welcome Home Oregon offers culturally specific services or has formal training for staff in cultural responsiveness. The third program is high needs parole and probation officer. This is an existing program, and this program funds a specialized PO embedded in a multidisciplinary team to supervise individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. Uh, this program's goal is to reduce recidivism. Its target population is medium and high risk individuals, and staff did not have any recommended feedback for this program. The fourth program is a deputy district attorney. This is also an existing program, and this program funds a deputy district attorney who collaborates with a specialty court partners to divert eligible individuals to community supervision and treatment instead of prison. This program's goal is to reduce prison use. Its target population is low to high risk individuals, and recommended staff feedback is just to clarify if the program mixes risk levels at any point. And lastly, the last program is LIPSIC coordination and support. This is an existing program, and this role supports system level coordination of JRP activities, including partner convening, meeting facilitation, and grant compliance tracking. Its goal is to reduce prison usage. Its target population is low to high risk individuals, and recommended staff feedback is to explain how LIPSIC coordinator programs contributes to the goals of JRP and to outline how the program incorporates culturally responsive services in JRP programming. So again, essentially that kind of strategic level, just tell us what you're doing in a couple sentences and how you're addressing those things there. So with that being the last program for Josephine County, would the GRC like to adopt or change staff recommended feedback or add any further feedback? Can everybody feel the weekend? Is that, I think, last county, Polk County?
No, I think it's because you did such an amazing job. None of us have anything to add. Let's go with
Well,
that.
thank you. I love that. Thank you. All right, Polk County, last county. Over to you, Catherine.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so Polk County actually, they started above their baseline in February of 2024, and they saw another increase and ended, of course, still above their baseline in February 2025. We break that down. This is pretty interesting. So we actually see that their intakes or their admissions have gone down over that time period. They're also not the largest of the large counties. They're a little bit smaller, so their number of intakes generally is a little bit lower. But we do see some pretty extreme outliers, and particularly in their lengths of stay, and just a lengthening of that tail of their length of stay there, where it's just getting higher year over year, it appears. So we break that down by crime type. What we really see is there is a lot of prison use dedicated to first sentences for property crimes for Polk County over that time period. And we see that their sentence lengths for property crimes in particular and for drug crimes have seen pretty noticeable increases over the last year. We do see that decrease in intakes playing out in property crimes on the bottom right-hand corner. So overall, we see an increase in intakes for prison, but we do see a decrease in intakes for prison over that time period. We see that their local jail intakes remain relatively steady, if not going down a bit, but we see an increase in their probation intakes in the last year. If we look at Polk compared to some of their geographic peers, they tend to run right in the middle in per capita admissions and right with the statewide rate, although in the last year or so, it appears that they're up a little bit compared to statewide and amongst their peers. And then finally, if we look at their probation equity plot, we do not see any sustained positive values for any group in Polk County.
Although I do see a market increase, like it's going up, and so I just want us to keep an eye on that, because that's quite a jump, and I know normal fluctuations and that kind of thing, but when three different ones are simultaneously rising, it makes me a little concerned.
And one thing I will note about that is, and I don't have the numbers in front of me exactly for what's happening this year, but that could also have to do with the number of white individuals, because all of these different groups are compared to the number of white individuals. So if there was for some reason a market drop in the number of white individuals in one particular year, that could be something that affects a spike like that with all three groups. But I like your note. Yes, I think that's definitely a point.
Thanks, Catherine. Okay, so moving into the last program of the day. It's Polk County's existing behavioral health in jail services. So this program provides in-custody stabilization and post-release transitional planning through psychiatric care, crisis intervention, urgent evaluations, and warm handoffs to community providers. So like I said, it's an existing program. Its goal is to reduce prison use and reduce recidivism. And its target population is low to high risk individuals. The only staff recommended feedback is to clarify if the program mixes risk levels at any point. And overall staff recommended feedback is to explain the recent increase in sentence lengths for property and drug crimes. So again, just providing a little bit more of that context, couple sentences of what are maybe the contributing factors there. And so with that, I will ask the GRC one more time for the last program. Would the GRC like to adopt or change any of the staff recommended feedback or include any additional feedback? Yes, Nate.
No, thanks, Lindsay.
Bring it home.
I have nothing for Polk County specifically, but I did want to talk a little bit about the group of the orange counties here. I just saw a theme that maybe we could just discuss a little bit, and that theme that I saw over and over again in the orange group was an increase in the property crime uh, sentences for prison. And I'm wondering, do we have a sense of what's causing that with this particular orange group of counties?
I will say from a data perspective, no, not at this level of data, right? We're just like counting, we're just able to count the number of intakes. However, I mean, and we could maybe look at this if we want to. I think that from the county's perspectives, they have discussed that to an extent in their applications.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this is just anecdotal feedback that I've heard, across the state. Um, I get to travel around and talk to various people, right? And I'm wondering if and I don't know how much influence our grant review committee has with this, but the return on investment, I think over and over again gets brought up in conversations in various levels. And I'll explain what I mean by that. In the Justice Reinvestment programming that had started right around 2013-ish, the funding has plateaued. I think we've been around $50 million statewide for many biennia. And and we keep asking and putting pressure on our local jurisdictions to continue to look to ways for either reduce prison utilization or maintain, after about 10 years. And I know property crime, especially chronic property crime folks, um, those are very difficult to deal with locally sometimes because they continue to um, violate the law and steal and do things like that. So we're trying to find the root causes of those things, right? Typically, it's some sort of a addiction issue. Maybe it's a mental health issue. Maybe it's a fallout of a relationship or any other criminogenic factor that we identify. And it's a heavy lift to get them to stop committing uh, crimes, especially property crimes. So I'm wondering, like, local jurisdictions are taking a look at this and saying, is this worth keeping this particular person in our communities where they're going to continue to victimize our businesses and our communities and with property crimes? Or is it more beneficial to send them to prison at a tune of, I think it's $270 a day or something to that effect, that the state shoulders that burden, as opposed to keeping them in our local jurisdiction where we're forking out a lot of money, whether it's to our jails or it's community corrections or our police services, our courts, our district attorney's offices, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of investment locally to keep people around in the communities, although probably better, but it's expensive. And as I'm reviewing these different jurisdictions, they're they're all really great programs. I wish we could fund, everything to the peak and keep people out of prison that don't need to be in prison. But what I'm coming to understand from just feedback and conversations is there needs to be additional funds in order for us to do this work effectively and keep the community safe. So if there's a way to get that message to whether it's the CJC or other legislators to, increase the amount of money to JRP, and then I have to also pause and say, as the governor or the legislature is determining um, what services and what programs and where to invest money through the Ways and Means part of this, the actual cost study that's being talked about for community corrections specifically needs to get funded fully. All of these other programming things, it's like, you know, a lot of really cool things, but if we don't have the fundamental foundational funding for public service in local jurisdictions, I'm sensing that these orange counties, that even though there's just a handful of them, there might be more orange counties as we look forward into the future for public safety. We need to invest more into it if we're going to put the burden on our local jurisdictions. That's all I have to say, Lindsay.
Thanks, Nate. I mean, I think those are always very valuable context moments for us as staff to be able to consider. So thank you for sharing that. And definitely hear you on wanting to make those points known or advocate. I think where CJC is, we can support an evaluation and providing research around those things. And so I know that we take that feedback that you give and we kind of write it down as potential evaluation and research topics. So thank you again, Nate. Any other feedback for Polk County before we kind of move even more into maybe just a discussion period? Any other themes? So we'll kind of pause for Polk County and then we'll get to discussion. All right, so that wraps up the preliminary application review. Kind of building off of Nate, your identification of themes and things that you're seeing. Take this time, maybe 5 to 15 minutes, if you all would like to discuss kind of what you're seeing or any additional feedback that you would like to add in this preliminary application round. Just as kind of a reminder, the goal is to ensure that every county has an application that is strong and that we can that meets your criteria as you do the final application review.
I would just like to echo Nate's point, and as somebody who sits on the Criminal Justice Commission, just want to make sure that I can carry that conversation back, but it's very helpful if staff kind of lay the foundation for that. Otherwise, I'll be like, oh, Nate said something. But if you can get that back, I'm happy to convey that in our next in-person meeting. I think you're right, Nate. I think the other thing is, we expect a lot out of counties to keep working this process in the system, but when funding is flatlined, especially with the increases we see all over the place, it's really hard. And I think you have an especially salient point around the point of diminishing returns, right? So when does somebody say, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, it's not worth the money, I'll just send them all, to prison. I'm not saying that that's how people approach it. I think that's very, very, you know, a blunt way of and dumbing it down to a level that it's not realistic. But I can see what you're saying in terms of, we're fighting so hard for this money and it's not even meeting the needs. And, the state is pushing this money out to meet those, to try and keep that burden transferring to the state. So I guess my only caveat is if staff could put that forward to the next Criminal Justice Commission meeting, I can very uneloquently say, here, Nate's right.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we can get something drafted and bring forward some points or themes that the GRC has from this meeting. All right. Well, with that, not hearing any other discussion. All right. Yes, Nate, please.
No, I'm ready to go to the weekend. I'm putting my hand down.
Okay. All right. So next steps, we'll take all of the feedback that we gathered here today, that the GRC has provided and approved, and send that out to individual counties, so that they can then incorporate that into their final applications. And then we'll present those to you all in the first week of September. So final applications are due for the counties July 25th. And then, in that interim, we'll meet with them. I think back to Lisa, I think you made this point, but we'll establish times that counties can meet with us, that we can meet with them to kind of discuss their applications and ensure that it's getting the detail that the GRC has asked for. Again, keeping the burden as low as possible, where it's that 1 to 3 sentences of what are you, just fill in the gap a little bit. We're not trying to make this an overly burdensome process. So with that, I think that concludes the preliminary application review. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for providing feedback. I think we hit the same time frame as last biennium, so I think we got a good solid. Maybe we don't have to schedule 8 hours for the next one, but we'll see. So thank you all.
I'm pretty sure you just jinxed it. I'm just going to say that.
All right. Well, I'll knock on some wood somewhere. But thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend and appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks.
Thank you.